So, a while ago, I was walking through Watsonia, and I look across the road to the BP there, and I saw this really nice vintage, like old school Corvette Stingray. And I stopped to admire it because it was pretty nice. And I wasn't the only one that noticed this car. Two women who were walking on the other side of the road, same side as the BP, they see the car and they pull up to look at it at the same time. Now, then this guy walks out of the BP, walks over, sees the two women admiring the car, and he says to him, he's like, "Hey, do you want to see something cool?" He pulls out his keys, goes around to the driver's side door, unlocks the car. It was a cheesy move, but it worked. These two women, they were just absolutely smitten by this car. It was a beautiful vehicle. But me, being the shit stirrer that I am, I just couldn't help myself. So I called out from across the road. I was like, "Hey, why didn't you get a split window?" The guy, he hears this, he looks around, he clocks me, and he just starts like stomping across the road. He's walking, a car is driving, pulls up, slams the brakes on, blares the horn at him, doesn't phase him. He comes right up to me and he says, "Look here, you little shit." You know, great way to start a conversation. I knew I was in for a great time. He's like, "I'm sick of smart ass motherfuckers like you always coming around here saying, 'Why didn't I get a split window?' Yeah, well, you want to know why? They only released them for 1 year. That makes them so fucking expensive. Make that thing look like pocket change. You want to know why I didn't get one? You want the honest fucking truth? Because I can't afford it. That's why. But thing is, I don't need a car like that. Because those dumb sluts, they can't tell the difference. They see an old school car and they're down south go tropical. I only need a car like that if I was trying to impress someone like you. And guess what? I'm not trying to fuck you." It was at this point that this guy was talking so loud that those two women, they heard what he was saying and they just walked off. He didn't notice because he was so busy shouting at me. And I noticed as he was shouting at me that his face had just gotten so red, so much that I could see the pink tinge of his scalp through his thinning hairline. And that every time he shouted, that the dandruff that lined his hair just got shook free and would rest on his shoulders. And from there, I also noticed that there were cords in his neck just pulled taut and standing out, pulling out from the skin. And all this I noticed whilst with every syllable he just misted spittle on my face, to the point where I was going to look like I was sweating as much as he was by the end of this conversation. And anyway, he continued. He's saying, "I'm lucky I could afford that. You don't know the shit I went through. When my wife split up with me, that greedy bitch, she was gonna take everything. You know what I went through? I was facing jail time. That's right, fucking jail time in a divorce case. My lawyer had never seen anything like that before. And if it wasn't up to him, I'd be sleeping in a cell right now instead of driving a nice fucking piece of shit like that. Thanks to him, I have everything. Because I didn't think I'd have a place to sleep, let alone enough of a settlement to be able to drive such a nice car that could pull such hot gash like those two." And that's when he finally looked and noticed that the women were gone. And it was just a conversation between us. So he comes back to me and he says, "Bet you think you're real fucking funny, don't you, you cheeky little cunt? Coming around here, scaring all the women." And I told him, like, "Hey, man, that wasn't me." So he just stares at me with a huff, walks back across the road to his car, opens the door, looks back over to me, and he says, "Well, at the end of the day, I'm the one with the car." Gets in, slams the door. That crisp, nice 5-litre V10 roars to life, and he speeds on out of there. So that was the end of that. But then, just the other day, actually, I was at the petrol station, filling my car up, and this really nice, probably about 10 years old Porsche Cayman pulls into the servo. And see, the Porsche Cayman, it's a newer car from Porsche. And some people prefer it, because much more modern design than their flagship 911. It's much more optimized to be a convertible. It's a mid-engined opposed to rear-engined, so it's meant to be able to take the corners a lot better. A lot more all-wheel drive turbocharger options. But the big reason why people usually pick the Cayman over the 911 is because the most expensive Cayman is about $100,000 less than the cheapest 911. So again, this car's pulling in. I just can't help myself. So I call out. I was like, "Hey, why didn't you get a 911?" And this Cayman, it was pulling into the other side of the BP. As soon as I say that, it just swerves, that amazing German handling, swerves towards me, pulls up at the Bowser next to me. Engine cuts out, door opens, and what would you know? It was the same guy.